Greetings. It's Monday, the 1st of September, 2025. I'm Thomas Caldwell of the Aurelian Column, and this is the Monday Morning Report. Well, I'm back, at least for a while, at least for today. I want to thank everyone for the notes that they sent to me worried about my condition. I guess I have something in common with President Trump. You disappear for a little while and everyone thinks you're dead or dying. Not the case. I just needed a very badly needed break. It was summertime. But I'm back, at least in the capacity you are hearing this morning. Let me go into a little bit of what I'm planning on doing here at the channel. I'm going to touch on a few things going on in the news right now. But let me give you a bit of my background and why I am in this and why I got into it in the first place many, many, many years ago. When I entered journalism, it was a different world. It was a different century, really. It was considered a noble profession in most places, at least back then. And it was something that you took very seriously, almost like a religious order's obligation. When I first got into radio, I was told by the people who were teaching me, they were saying, "Mr. Caldwell, you are going to be talking to about 35 million people every time you go on the air." And that was the projected audience at the time. And people are going to make life decisions based on what you tell them. They're going to get married or not get married. They're going to take a job or not take a job. They're going to go on a vacation or not go on a vacation. They're going to have children or not have children. And the list goes on and on and on. So you better be damn sure you get the facts straight, because you're going to be affecting people on a massive scale. And of course, they're going to vote or not vote for certain people based on the reports they're hearing. We were considered an integral part of the American democratic process. We were there to inform the public so they can make informed decisions on their lives and how they should be governed. It's not that way anymore, as is quite obvious. I took the job very seriously, and I'm very happy to say I never had any major screw-ups. But these days, what are we dealing with? We're not talking about matters that affect us. We're talking about basically reporting insanity. Really, just reporting craziness. And that can be extremely exhausting, and it's also not very helpful, because the news is no longer the news, it's disaster porn. What's going on in the last couple of weeks? Well, first off, today in South Africa, yes, I am going to keep harping on that. Some new law is coming into effect called the Employment Equity Act. It isn't about employment and it isn't about equity. It's basically about companies having the obligation to get rid of white workers. Yes, nobody really wants to talk about that because all the liberals that condemned the previous administration, although there were some things it was involved in that weren't very nice, well, what you have down there in South Africa is a horror. The African National Congress is basically an affront against humanity. What's going on in the United States? Oh, we have another transgender mass murderer. We've had several. Have you noticed that? Several. Why? Well, people are going to blame the guns, but no, it's embracing insanity. And transgenderism is insanity. And this is why things are the way they are. People have the mistaken belief that they can't call out craziness when it's crazy. You don't give the other side an opinion if they're doing something insane. But a lot of so-called journalists today think that's the case. I remember seeing a story just the other day where the headline was, "Trump is responsible because somebody in Washington, D.C. tried to grab the gun of a National Guardsman." Really? And having lived in Washington, D.C., I can tell you I am applauding that there is such a big surge in law enforcement. And I hope the same thing happens in Chicago. You see, guys, what I've been doing is not reporting the news to you or analyzing it. I've just been reporting the craziness. And the craziness has to stop. It's not a matter of making America great again. It's a matter of making America sane again. The people who are at the head of our affairs, And the newest one that's on the list is the governor of Illinois, who, frankly, if we sat down and had a conversation, I would just basically call him an idiot to his face. The people at the head of our affairs in this country shouldn't be there, most of them. And I don't think the American people are going to do anything to fight back anytime soon or take action, let alone fighting back. I really believe that if every single member of Congress stood out on the Capitol steps and were all wearing necklaces made from the bones of children and had spears in their hands with severed human heads stuck on the top of them, I don't think the American people would do that much. Oh, they'd say terrible things. They'd write memes. They'd send email to each other. They'd talk about how bad everything is, but they wouldn't take action. Now, I don't believe for a second most or even any of the people in Congress are capable of that. In fact, there are some good people that we still have in government, thankfully. But I'm just showing you that people really don't care in this country. They don't even care in South Africa, where they're literally being murdered. People aren't fighting back. And fighting back can take many forms. But really, if you saw that sort of insane sight in Washington, D.C., I think most Americans would just switch the channel or go to another video on YouTube. It's a terrible thing to have to say, but it's true. We have other things going on in the news. Possible war with Venezuela, that will be interesting. Trump is deciding to go after the cartels. That's well and good. They should be obliterated. But at the same time, remember, the cartels are in business for one reason and one reason alone, and that's Americans like to take very nasty drugs into their bodies. In the Far East, they have a different solution to that. If you're caught with a certain quantity of illegal substances, they put you to death. And anybody caught selling such substances are put to death. It's very easy. These cartels exist because Americans created them. No one wants to talk about that. People are taking fentanyl because, well, they want to take fentanyl. So being a journalist these days is not really possible because informing the public that everything is a mess and the fact that they're not going to do anything is pretty hopeless. Now, I'm going to reformulate the Aurelian Column, and for those of you who don't know, it's named after Marcus Aurelius. It's a little play on a sculpture in Rome, and he was of the Stoic school, which is to persevere and keep moving no matter what, which a lot of us have had to learn to do in recent years. But instead of just going through how messed up the world is right now, I'm going to be seeking out other types of angles, basically pointing out there's insanity. No need to go any further. The U.S. is totally off the wall nuts. But if you don't start presenting solutions to these things, which I think that modern journalists, real ones, are going to have to start doing, or seeking out people that have answers, it's not going to go any further. There are thousands of people out on the internet basically reporting how screwed up everything is, how doom and gloom is around every corner, how we're on the verge of nuclear war, how this or that, or there's plenty of that out there. But I want to do something different. And over the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking and listening and going over my previous material and continuing to point out how crazy everything is not going to be of service to you and certainly is not going to be any fun for me. And basically, journalism is supposed to be a lot of fun if you do it right. So I'm going to be getting back in touch with you probably in another week or so. I just thought it was important to touch base. I'm going to reformulate the channel. And it's not going to be good news, good news, good news, but it's going to be an alternative view of things and possible solutions to fix things. And not just my own ideas, but those of others I will seek out and interview. We already have a consensus, an overwhelming consensus, that everything in the United States and much in the world is a total mess. So why don't we start working towards saving what we have and maybe rebuilding it in a better way? Because if things keep going the way they're going, it's going to completely vanish. And once it gets to that point, rebuilding is going to be a lot harder than repairing. And those who are into journalism, I would start looking at coming up with better ways of presenting things. I'm not going to name any names, but many of the channels I have seen on YouTube and elsewhere have now stooped to the level of, well, coming up with crazy stories just so more people will follow them, because everyone's chasing a buck. And that is where the news business went wrong, when it became a profit center and it stopped being an expense that was necessary to keep your FCC license if you were in TV or radio. And that's going to have to change. An old mystic once told me something when I asked this guy who had studied all these amazing mystical traditions for decades. I asked him how come he doesn't charge any money for teaching people. And he said quite simply, how can I charge money for something that's priceless? And that being said, I'm going to sign off for now, and I will be in touch in the very near future. You will be seeing the various things posted up on my channel. But I'm going to reformulate the Aurelian column, and I'm going to take some ideas that people have given me and a few I've come up with, and I think you'll like where things are going to go. That's it for today. If you appreciate my work, please like, subscribe, and share. Share with your friends and share with your enemies, and hope they someday become friends. I can be reached at feedback@aureliancolumn.com. That's feedback@aureliancolumn.com. I'm up on X. My handle there is MICCAMPEN. That's MICCAMPEN. This podcast originates at Substack. My handle there is aureliancolumn.substack.com. Until we meet again, be good, be safe, be vigilant, and work for a better future, because the present really sucks. Good day.